Bonjour à tous, Sonia Rano, Indian Cinema Events, Grenoble Indian Film Festival, édition 2025. Je suis ravie de vous retrouver pour cette 8e édition. Eh bien, aujourd'hui, nous avons Vardhan Kumar, qui est un jeune cinéaste avec nous. Alors, Vardhan, donc il a travaillé surtout dans la publicité, pas mal dans le théâtre également, sur des longs métrages. Il vient nous proposer un court-métrage fort intéressant. Je pense qu'il ne faudra pas euh, manquer ce court-métrage que vous retrouverez sur YouTube Indian Cinema Events. Donc, le titre en anglais, c'est My Hate Letter to Cycles and Self-Harm. Donc, ce court-métrage est plutôt sérieux, hein. C'est un sujet assez grave. C'est une lettre de haine envers un cycle de mutilation. Donc, il va nous expliquer un peu plus ce que ça veut dire et pourquoi il a fait ce court-métrage. Je vais maintenant passer en anglais. So, welcome to Grenoble Indian Film Festival.
Thank you. Thank you.
We're super happy to have your film. We're glad that you wrote to us and you sent us this film, My Hate Letter to Cycles and Self-Harm. So you're very young, but you're coming with this very interesting film. Before I get into the film, do tell me a little bit about, how you got into filmmaking, so that our audiences can know a little bit more about who you are, what motivates you and inspires you.
Right. So, besides me actually getting into the filmmaking process of it, there was one very big idea that was introduced to me early on, and that was it's a very generic thing that I'm going to say, and a lot of people must have said it across the years, but it was Andrea Tarkovsky's The Mirror that got me hooked. So from there, I ventured on to Bergman and all these greats, Fellini and everyone, and there is a lot of filmmaking that was thrown upon to me through my younger brother. My younger brother is someone who has been a very big influence on me. He's my cousin, and we have been living together for the longest time in Bombay itself. So he also introduced me to a lot of films when we were younger. He used to show me films by Paul Thomas Anderson. He used to show me films by Wim Wenders and whatnot, like Coen Brothers. I was introduced to Coen Brothers by him only. So that is where the inception of filmmaking was embedded into me. And afterwards, I just gained momentum, started working on short films, did theater, stage plays, and eventually then I got into long formats and yeah, made films of my own. And I'm here because of that only, the short film that I made.
So going into short films, but having worked with theater, having worked with also documentaries, you spoke about 2 documentaries. What were those 2 documentaries on?
Right. So the first documentary that I shot was a like mitosis on my own family, the background that I come from. I'm from a scheduled caste family. So the thing is that the word Dalit and the word like scheduled caste is a very vague and a very difficult word in India. Like because people are shying away from it as well, and they're actively talking about it as well because the reservation system and everything. So I needed to know because a lot of things in my family were hidden across time. It was revealed to me at a later stage that I belong from this community because they wanted to protect me from all that goes on in this country with regard to reservations and caste or class system. So I was introduced to it very later on, but I got to know things that were very different and radically changing my head at that point of time. So I had to get into it. So the first documentary I made was about my grandparents, maternal and paternal both. I visited their homes, I visited their villages, I saw their old homes, and I recorded it. I documented it entirely to actually find the last spot of remembrance of my family, the last spot that was essentially the beginning, the birthplace of this entire chain. So I created a documentary surrounding class and how people actually deal with it or entertain it in India, and how is it correlated to my family's background. And yeah, the second documentary I am actually working on and it's in post production. I'm actually at the edit stage for it. It's about Nepalese house workers that are moving from Nepal to particularly have jobs in Bombay, and there is a very big community of people. Because I went to Nepal as well for this, and I realized near the border there are so many people who have gone to Bombay, came back, and have had a lot of issues in their lives, and still they are not even close to the end of the tunnel that they think. So the second one is about that only, and we also covered a lot of personal lives during that process in villages, in the mainstream towns as well. So all in all, it's a very balanced approach towards that film, so that we can show a place where we are not creating a maudlin emotion or making feel people bad about, oh, look at these lives. I do not want to do that. I want to actually, I want people to actually register what is happening, not that. They should feel sad about it. They should understand, and it should be diegetic for them. So this was the second one.
So it's very interesting because you're speaking about this. Payal's film Always Imagine as Light is also about these nurses from Kerala
Yep,
moving
yep,
to
yep.
Bombay. And then there was another filmmaker from Kerala who was nominated, no, sorry, who won the national award, Ahmad, who made this film about these workers from Kerala who go to Dubai and Abu Dhabi. Very interesting
Right.
film, and that film
Definitely.
won a national award. Very interesting. And how there's one idea that we have in the villages about these people, but what we think that abroad means in our minds when we've never traveled abroad and we're from little villages, but their real lives and what they go through in these countries, which for these countries you're laborers and you're nothing much. So there's all these aspects clashing, and till we don't get to see what the real life of people is, it's difficult to imagine. So it's very interesting. I'm coming back now here. What are we trying to show? What are we seeing in this short film that you've given? Because my reaction, you saw what I wrote. I wrote a whole paragraph. It could have just been 2 words, wonderful film, but I wrote a whole paragraph. I'm pushing people to not watch any interviews before they see the films. They must see the films and then
For
watch
sure,
these
for sure.
interviews to understand. But so young, and yet a film with such mature ideas and subjects. So what inspires a film like this?
So the inspiration is my family dynamics only. It's not the reality, or it's not like I'm not blaming my parents, or like I'm not getting into that tangent or anything. But it's a very twisted and a spun off version of what I've seen in my life and the life surrounding me as well. Because at every socioeconomic strata, this particular element exists in India. I am sure about that because there are people who spend their entire lives, and I've seen my mother go through this. Like, she had a different life before me, and after I was born her life was completely changed. So the idea behind it was essentially to address it, and in a way that it some sort of it goes down the line of interrogation as well, because these things, people are very shy when they talk about such traumas, such assaults and everything. But it's also very important to address it as if it is not hurting or harming anyone, otherwise there is no way to see through it. So that was the idea while making the film. If it goes on to an extreme end, what will happen? How will the people react? How will the female figure in the room react? What will be her emotional turmoil? These were the things that I had at the very conception of the idea. So I started from there and like, found my way to this particular piece.
I'm coming back to COVID. For the first time in the world, all of us confined, locked down in our houses, realize that we're not people made to be closed in houses and
Right,
apartments. And because we were closed in houses and apartments at the global planetaire, the global world level, we all of us felt the same thing and realized that yes, we were made to confront our own selves closed in these houses. A lot of
right,
people were shooting about loneliness. A lot of people were shooting about trauma. A lot of people, we were touching everything psychological, which nobody was supposed to touch and was a taboo, was just breaking, and everything was coming out in terms
definitely.
of the film. There's going to be a pre COVID in our mindset of accepting everything around psychology, trauma, all of these things that we don't want to ever address, but ourselves, looking into ourselves, a reflection, and you said of society and Indian society, where people come from all over the world for spirituality and for peace,
Yeah,
which is such a shock. The contradiction.
definitely. Contrast. It's
Do,
amazing.
do, do you feel that there is this surface of the image that we have of India, which is there, because as you're born, you immediately confronted to death, to suffering, to pain, and you take it and you
Right.
accept it, right? So we shelter kids in France, for example. We're going to shelter kids, but in India, you're born this way. You accept life, you see dead bodies, you accept things, and this is just part of life, and no one makes a big deal about anything, right?
Right.
So there's this, but what you're saying is that it is a traumatic society. It is a violent society.
Truly it is. Because from what I've gathered, it's very simple for me. As you mentioned as well, like we're just scratching the surface. Like with even with this film, it's just the surface. Because if it goes down deeper, it is not something that has happened across the last 100 years or 200 years. It's an ancient devil that has been existing for the longest time. So, like for the last 2000 years, we have not been in a position that where we've evolved to a point where like we can stop all of this. We can stop this violence, this violence is not even visible. The problem is that people cannot actually pinpoint it and be like, oh, this is the violence, so we can just remove it. It's not like that. It's up in the air. It's something that people cannot actually fathom. And the neurons are not aligned to actually accept and register all of these things. And that is something that happens a lot in India. All of these topics are surrounding each other, and there are a lot of moving parts to them, but no one is actually willing to sit down, write about it, or think. And especially that now you've mentioned COVID, this film was written during COVID only because there were a lot of spats during COVID. A lot of households were into a lot of fighting and stuff, and so was my household. This script came from that because things like these happen, but no one gets to know about them. And I've not actually seen some film actually address and get into the nitty gritties of it because people are afraid. They are afraid of showing themselves. They're showing their transparency, showing their true self, and that is something I do not do. I try my best to be as transparent as I can and say what I want to on people's face, not behind their backs. So that is also an element that I wanted the film to incorporate in itself.
It's very important what you're saying, because there's all this at different levels, because when you start addressing this and how we interact with each other, because it is about interaction and emotional abuse, like you said, you can't see it. People are not hit always. Domestic abuse. Now, domestic violence, when you know that, we were just beginning in France to understand what the narcissistic personality disorder does to
Right,
people.
right,
Okay, so with domestic violence, what that exactly means, why the abused person devalues himself, starts going down in self-esteem, but does not have the force and the courage to leave the relationship, because this is addiction. This blowing
right.
of hot and cold non-stop. I offer you flowers, then I beat you, then I offer you flowers and a gift, then I do this to you. All of this is non-stop creating an addiction in the mind, where
Definitely.
the victim wants to go back to the state of this dopamine of the love bombing that they had at the beginning. And so these
Right.
cycles now are the only, now the word narcissist is not a swear word, is not an unknown word. People are hearing it. We're seeing it with Trump, we're seeing it with Musk, we're seeing the control, the power. We've seen it a lot in the series and films in Netflix. um, India is also beginning to realize domestic violence. There is a pattern, there is a cycle, there is a problem. I'm using these words and explaining this because you have the word cycle, there's
Right.
self-harm, there's, so all of this mutilation, self-harm is also part of a pattern.
Definitely.
And a lot of people today, a lot of psychologists are bringing up these things in podcasts on YouTube, and a lot of things are being discussed, even on Indian podcasts, which is very interesting. So it's good that all of this is coming out, and it will have to be in different languages too, so that all
Definitely.
of this can be treated. And a lot of this is also happening with these people who are very damaged, but also in addictions, which then gets them into a worse cycle of not only emotional
Yes.
abuse, but it goes into violence. That
Yes.
is
Yes. Yes.
the
Yes.
brink with the addiction of drinking or drugs, that it could go into proper violence, right? So
Definitely.
you
Like, I'm so sorry. Please continue.
no, please go ahead. Yeah,
Thank you.
tell
Okay.
me,
Okay.
tell me.
Very interesting that you mentioned addiction, because people get addicted to people. That is like things that happen. Because in my film itself, there's a very funny thing. Like, I've shown it to people, like I've shown it to men around 60, 50. They don't understand it at all. This is how deep it runs. The addiction, their addiction to um, this particular interaction is something that they're so used to that they don't even understand the film. They're like, so what's wrong with this? This is their reaction. So why was this wrong? So why did she do what she did? And ठीक है ना, चलता है, होता है. People say these kind of things. It means that it's fine only. Nah, it happens, bro. It happens. Okay, it has been happening for the longest time. This is the problem. It runs so deep that people who are supposed to teach us are the ones who are actually passing this down as a hereditary thing. So I just wanted to add this to what you said.
No, but you could have possibly, it could be your father, it could be your daughter, it could be your son,
Definitely.
it could be
Yes.
everybody. So when we're coming to a thing now in France, in the US, we're seeing this on podcasts, and we're speaking about me being a teacher at the university. I'm in a thing where I've got students who coming after COVID, before COVID. We have a lot of problems with, people who are unwell. One has to say all of this, that now it's coming out and people are openly saying it. Um, and this triggered me. This triggered me because I was like, now we're using these words. We're saying, oh, trigger. But I'm also speaking and learning and hearing for the past 5 years about learn how to regulate your emotions.
Hmm.
Is this something that we
Definitely.
know? And me working with cinema in India for almost 25 years, I'm in the thing where, is it important to slap a child, to touch a child, to beat a child in school, in class? These are some things we see in every Bollywood film. It's the big moments when you
Right.
see the slap. Now that triggers me. So I'm in your thing where kids who are deeply, deeply in trauma are going to be wanting to pacify things with the violent parents. They pick up the signs, they pick up all the cues, they know exactly how to behave, how to be very quiet. So they adapt their behavior, their attitude according to this very violent person. Whereas if
Definitely,
kids
their
are
survival
speaking
instinct
up,
kicks in.
yes, in your film, if kids are speaking up and are close to their parent, the parents are going to see them shout. The parents can see them fight because you're trusting your emotions to come out with that parent where you feel safe. And so all this is something new for India. It's new even for France. We don't speak about regulating emotions. And I'm thinking, for me, this was very important to bring this film into the festival because it's going to be a theme that now has to get out with regulating emotions, from teaching this to primary kids. What does it mean?
Truly.
You want to shout, you want to go punch him in the face. How do you regulate your emotions? How are you going
Right,
to
right.
not go and punch him in the face? All right. So we ourselves are learning this, but I'm learning it
Yes.
at an age that I'm not going to give you. You still are young, okay? And I'm like, I'm still like, oh gosh, I learned something so crucial. And I'm a teacher and I want to give this to the kids in class and speak about regulating emotions in class. You are young. You have your whole life ahead. We're going to be using it as a parent. You're going to be using it with your family. You're going to be also
Definitely.
discussing these things. And it gets people to reflect and say, oh, did I react too fast? Did I think before blurting something out or lashing out at somebody? Okay, because one look a look is enough. You know that you adapt to this person's temper. So
Because
no, this and the way you've shot it is so clever.
yes,
So tell me, because
because
this is just so clever. The way the whole thing. It's little by little. It's so smart. I found that so intelligent.
right. So the thought behind that was, firstly, it's my own home. It's my house that I've grown up in for the last, well, how many years I've been alive. So I've been there. That house has been something I've seen every corner of that house. I know every access there. So I was like, if this film is going to be shot, it has to be this house. At first, like my team was reluctant and they were like, no, no, we should get some other place. Let's not disturb people around in your house. Like other people are also living, your grandparents. And I'm like, no, they'll shift. We have some relatives in the society only. They can go there. We'll shoot it here because the film will be at its best when it's shot in this house. And the cinematographer Faisal Alam, he's a dear friend and he's a great technician. He was the one who helped me and was the go-to person with me to actually decide what shots that we are going for. A lot of inspiration came from Quaron's Roma. It like all the shots that we are trying to take in wide and just panning things across. Roma was a very big influence, and across along with that, White Ribbon was also a very big influence by Mikhail Haneke. So that these two films also contributed a lot to the shot taking and the cinematography of the film because it's a very confined space, right? I cannot do much, I cannot go wider. So the things were already in place. Like, okay, this I cannot do. This type of shots are not possible. These are possible. So we eventually had to move towards a wider lens and at points a handheld and one take treatment because the action and the dialogues all combined together were so intense that the camera had to move accordingly. So towards the end as well, we even had a floating 2 minute sequence of the main spat that happens, and that was a one take. The idea was always there that it has to be a one take because all of this needs to feel as real as it gets. Because if I start cutting there, the impact will be lost. So cinematography wise, I think we were very clear, and the space also dictated a lot of yes and no's for us.
So you're saying one take, only
Like
one take?
towards the end, it's a 2 minute one take. That's it. The two
Okay.
minute bit, the final spat, the
Wow.
final. Yeah, that was a one take movie.
Wow. 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 Because it just so your actors are these theater actors?
Yeah, all theater actors.
Yeah, you can feel that the
Right,
the profound feelings are all out. You feel you can reach out and touch them. They're
right.
they're 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 so real and so in that precise moment. It's really really well done. It's so well done.
Thank you so much.
Just with when you're speaking about emotions, it's so difficult to catch these things. It's like a bit, the look and the emotions on a photo. Okay, what you're showing, are we going to feel something? Are we going to um here obviously you've got, it's not like a photo, it's on film, but you still need to feel the connection with these actors and with what they're portraying and what is happening. And there's moments when you want to intervene and say hush, be quiet, or let her be, or
Right.
you get fearful when you see him. Them having a meal, you see the difference, you see things switch. You see the whole mood change. So all of this is extremely important and interesting. And I honestly, how when did you make this? So you said you made it during COVID?
I wrote it during COVID, but I shot it afterwards when the lockdown was opened. So it was around 2022 only that we shot it. But the edit was the place that this film suffered a lot because I shifted to Bombay during that time, and the editor that was on board couldn't find the time. So me and the DOP, Faisal again, both of us got onto the edit. At first, he was the one who fixed it up, and afterwards, towards the festival run of the film, like last year was like a good year for me as well because at local festivals the film was appreciated a lot within India and across India as well. So at the end of it, I was the one who finally finished the edit and submitted it. So it is a film that has suffered a lot as well, knowingly and unknowingly as well. So that was the case.
Right. So in all, it is about how many minutes? Remind me.
20 minutes, 2024.
20 minutes. It's the timing perfect. This is really going to interest people, and I really tell everybody to come watch this. I thank you for giving it to us, for us to have this film on YouTube, knowing that filmmakers are very frightened of their films being on YouTube, and I keep saying anywhere, anyone, anywhere in the world can watch this. It will be accessible. It's so important for you to build up your network, for people to get to know you, see your work, but for also people to feel, oh gosh, I feel this and I'm not the only one. And for women to feel this and watch this film and it to bring something. One last thing about this ritual. Say something about this ritual that we see.
The cabinets.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's again something that is very personal to me because I used to see my mother working in the kitchen all the time, and as a boy who was born in 1998 around the millennium, a lot of my peers and my cousins and my brothers, we have all seen our mothers like this only, like they're either working in the kitchen or they're cleaning our clothes or they're feeding us and they're taking care of us. We are all we are all like immobile, stupid people, and our mothers are taking care of us. So we've all been growing up in this particular generation. So this cabinet thing came from a point where my mom used to ask me that she wanted me to always, and this is never something that she skips. She wanted me to come in and help her out with opening the cabinets that are unreachable for her and get that particular whatever she wants, maybe it's flour, it's rice, whatever she wants, to get that down and give it to her because she can't reach it. And so I was like, okay, I need a device that is true to me and which I can invert or subvert in a way that will be accessible in the film, and most importantly that drives the film as well. So I was like, I'll just reverse this and I'll ask in the interview for her to pull out whatever she wants, because that's working as a reward system, right? When there is a particular timing for every time she gets up and she closes a cabinet. It's essentially when she's not giving a true answer. She's hiding herself in her answer, and that is when there is a negative reward for her. The interviewer asks her to get up and close the door. So I just twisted in some weird ways that worked for the film.
I hope, all I can hope. And we should send this to the government, the health authorities, so that they take your film, they use whatever they wish, part of it, the essential of your short film or the whole short film, so that it could, be an official clip for domestic violence in the country. No,
Oh,
I
right.
honestly,
Because
honestly hope. I wish this were possible, and I hope one day this could be possible, because in France we've got campaigns and they're running on every TV channel. They're all over on radios and TV channels, and they are officially, these are government campaigns.
definitely. I
You know.
believe what you said makes so much sense because people need to be made aware about all of these things because they've been ongoing for the longest time and we cannot fathom such inanimate things. And it's only human to not understand, and it is only human to make people understand. So the campaigns are of the utmost necessity. As you mentioned, like in France, people are going about it, and so should people in India.
So we have campaigns on a bit of everything, whether it's child abuse or, rape or self-harm. Everything is stemming from something that happened at some point. The adults that we are, you're giving us a beautiful lesson, showing us that reminding us that the adults that we are the product of something that happened to us during our childhood, and that the childhood is so important. Our youth is so important, because that is what makes us the people who we are.
Definitely.
And this is something that we're not careful about enough. um, but when we watch, videos and documentaries about serial killers and about psychopaths and all of that, it is true that every person has to go back. Every psychologist that you're putting into every criminal case in the courtroom is always going back to what happened to this person during his childhood, and
Right.
there's no safe future without the origin, with a safe origin as kids, right?
Very well
So
said. Very well said.
what you're putting out is so important. It is so important. We've never shown anything. I'm just trying to think. We've never, no, I don't think we've had anything like this. So strong, so powerful, such an important message that there is to put out there, beautifully shot, for people to see. And this is going to I mean, speak to everybody. This will speak to everybody in our relations with people, in us correcting ourselves. I mean, nobody's perfect. We're working on ourselves every day. And your film just inspires all of us to think about our deeds, our actions, and just try hard to be good people every day. It's the hardest thing ever, right?
Definitely. Waking up and being nice to people is the toughest thing
Yeah,
ever. And
isn't
people are
it?
very, definitely, people conveniently blast people off, but that's the case.
Yeah, because it's the last thing we want to care about and we want to bother about, and you're also bringing us to with the idea of, my goodness, we should be grateful for having our parents there. You know,
Definitely.
these
It works on a reverse level as well, because people who will watch it who've had a decent childhood and where they were not assaulted or not put in positions that are not actually great for a child. These people actually realize that, oh, there is a world out there where people are suffering from the very get-go, from their childhood, and people are the person who is giving birth to their child is the person who assaults. So that's there.
I'm also coming back to what we see in lots of Bollywood films, is this the slap or hitting is
Right.
something that it takes on it's going to become, in the years to come, the more we're going to have podcasts and people speaking about abuse and emotional abuse and all of this coming out. It will be a very big thing. It is going to become a very big thing. But if we could possibly have a law, with saying that it is, forbidden to touch kids in class. Um, um, Bullying, we do see it everywhere, but also, I always say to my son, we were given as humans language, and this is the biggest difference from animals who will go and fight and
Definitely.
and bite you.
Definitely.
A dog will go and bite you immediately. And
Yes.
what we have, and we've learned, and education in schools and colleges teaches us to debate,
Right.
teaches us to, even if people are saying, using abuse, they're still speaking. They're not
Right.
touching. They're not. But that emotional abuse, words are very strong, and that emotional abuse, just after domestic abuse, is going to be the next strongest thing, because with words you can demolish people too.
Definitely you can. And I believe that impact of a physical hit is there is a visual healing that is happening in front of your own eyes, right? But the mental healing, no, I cannot look inwards and heal that. That's also there. It's very contrasting in many ways.
Right. But so somebody so young like you go into something so deep. You're saying you're inspired by seeing this at home, your family, uh, from around you as well. Um, did what was the reaction of your friends and people who saw the film?
So I showed the family this film as soon as it was ready. They appreciated it a lot, and they understood everything, and they were kind enough to actually accept and be forthcoming with regard to whatever had happened. And they're also very they're decent people only. They were also subject to a lot of oppression in their past, and most importantly, I belong from a community that has been oppressed for the longest time, and this oppression just adds. So it is not about them being like this, or anyone for that matter who is actually assaulting someone being bad. It is just about what has been going on in their head and what has been passed down. So I cannot just point fingers at people because of this. What I can do is highlight the situation from a top view. So that is something that they understood, my friends and family, and everyone got the film. No one was like, "Yo, I didn't understand the film," or why was this happening? What happened with this? And no one was actually even trying to get into the detail of it because everyone was there. They were present, and that is the best thing I think about this film was that people are present while watching it. No one is looking away. That is a very important factor that I try to involve and embed in my films. So yeah, their reaction mainly was they were satisfied and they were very happy that I made my first film and it was this.
And your family's their reaction to your career in
Yeah,
Mumbai
they
now.
were. Yeah, they're excited. They're excited bunch of people. So they're always telling me to do this, do that. But sometimes I'm like, you don't know. I'm living here. I know what how it's going about. So I do take your advice, but I need to find my own path here, and I'll definitely keep you looped in whenever I'm getting to a good place.
Right. So obviously that comes from overprotective parents,
Yeah,
big typical
100%.
parents. Everything that you hate when you're living under that roof, you start loving when you've gone and you're struggling in Mumbai alone, right?
Right, right. Of course, there is not one single day
Ghar
when
ka
I'm thinking about, oh,
khana and all of
ghar ka
that.
khana. I'm like,
Everything
where's
that
my
we take for
bed?
granted, right?
Yeah, yeah, definitely. And this is something that your parents tell you when you're young and you're not able to understand. It's very funny. They're like, you'll miss homes, you'll miss home cooked food, you'll miss us, you'll miss your bedroom, you'll miss your bed. And I'm like, no, I won't miss anything. I want to go away. Bye bye. I'm like this. And when I'm in Bombay, I'm like, oh shit, why can't I go home, man? It's too hectic. That's the same reaction then now.
So when you go back, obviously they see the appreciation, they see the gratitude, and they see the maturity, and they see, wow, he's now a man, a young man who's living his life, but who's understood the value of everything that we've been teaching him and saying to him. So no,
Definitely.
it's wonderful. It's really great. This whole journey, and I'm wishing you a very long journey with beautiful films,
It's,
lots of
it's,
lovely things coming up. You're welcome to the GIFF family now. You're part
thank you
of
so much.
us, and what we can say to you is try to keep sending films and to festivals, keep doing your films, stay in touch, and then we look forward maybe one day to seeing you in Grenoble for the festival, for
For
real.
sure, for sure. Without
Thank
a
you
doubt.
so much. Thank you very much
Thank
for
you so
giving
much,
us your
man.
film.
No worries. Thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye bye.